Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast, Bone Bootcamp with Sarah Purcell. I'm your host, Sarah. This podcast, my newsletter, and all of my programs are designed to help women approach aging with confidence and courage. I'm specifically focused on bone growth promotion and skeleton safe movements in Bone Bootcamp, the course, and Short and Sweet with Sarah, the membership. In this podcast, I strive to bring you all the most current information on living your best life as you age. Let's get on with today's episode. Hello and welcome to Bone Bootcamp, the podcast. I am lucky enough today to have with me Michelle Thomas, who is a health and nutrition coach. She's also a weight loss coach. She does everything from fitness to helping you sort out what's going on with your nutrition. So she has a fascinating story. Part of her story is she has lost 100 pounds or over 100 pounds 3 times. That is, in my opinion, something that begs for more information. So without further ado, I will pass it on to Michelle and ask her to share her health journey with us.
Well, thanks so much, Sarah. I'm really excited to be here today. I started my last health journey about 8 years ago, and I lost 120 pounds in 18 months. But the first time I lost 100 pounds, I was 21, lost it in 4 months, gained it back in about 6. The next time I was 32 after giving birth to 2.5 children. And actually, he was newborn. And I lost it again and gained it back in about 6 months because, I was after 30. And then I gained it back in about 6 to 8 months. So when I started it the third time, I looked at my amazingly wonderful husband and said, I have got to do this differently. We met right after I lost weight the first time. He watched me roller coaster for 20 years. And he goes, yeah, you do. Because he's a chiropractor and he's like, the weight's just killing you. And so when I started the third time, I went about it completely different. There was no more quick fix. There was no more how fast can I lose it, because obviously I can lose it really quick. And there was, how can I do this to make it a lifestyle, to make it permanent so that I don't have to do this again? It was right after my father had passed away, and to tie into what you do and the reason I stand so firmly on osteoporosis prevention, my mother's quality of life stunk. She'd broken her ribs at that point 3 different times, moving clothes from the washer to the dryer. So, not to mention all the times she had cracked things just falling around the house.
Right.
And so when I started my health journey the third time, it was meant to be cohesive and all-inclusive. It was not meant to be a quick fix, get me to a size 4 dress, I must be,
Right.
Didn't really care about the size 4, cared more about not getting cancer like my dad had, not having osteoporosis like my mom had, and really looking at wellness and health as a entire package.
Right. And that's why I find what you do so fascinating. Because you're not selling a quick fix. You're selling a lifestyle.
Yes. And that lifestyle includes not only nutrition, but mindset adjustments, and then creating those daily healthy habits. It requires all 3 components in order for it to become that new you, that person that you're striving to become. And you can eat right all day long, but if your mindset isn't right, it's not a healthy lifestyle.
Right. And you and I agree on that.
Yes.
There's mindset and there's what can become a daily habit for you.
Yeah.
It's lovely to believe you're going to do Peloton for 2 hours every day, but what's actually feasible?
Yes,
Yeah.
I tell people all the time. Now, I love the fact that you want to work out for 2 hours, but can you see yourself doing that for the rest of your life?
Right.
Because if you can't, you're not solving the problem, you're making a whole new problem. Because when you get hurt or injured, it's going to become your new excuse not to lose the weight, not to be healthy. Because, if you get injured, that means you can sit and eat a container of ice cream on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's this whole concept of how do you make this become who you are so that your first immediate step after injury or after bad news is not the container of ice cream on the couch or the bag of chips or
Right.
whatever your go-to is. Mine used to be a box or a 4-pack of Bavarian cream donuts. I liked the chocolate covered Bavarian cream donuts, let me tell you. So,
Well, chocolate's a favorite of mine.
mine too, and I still eat it. I just don't eat 4 donuts driving home from the store now.
Right. That's a very good point.
Yes, yes. You don't have to give up everything. You just have to change change how you do it a little bit.
Right.
So,
And so you work with people in person and online, or is it all online?
I do everything online because I live in the middle of nowhere in Colorado outside of Colorado Springs. I'm about 45 minutes from town, and
Right.
fortunately, what I do can all be done remotely.
Right.
Because I'm not saying you need to go to the gym and I need to watch every movement you make and you need to do it for 2 hours a day.
Right.
That is not something that most women have the time, inclination, energy, or want to
Right.
do. We have families, we have careers oftentimes, and we're just too busy to do
Right.
that. Not to mention that whole concept of who wants to go have the muscle bound guys
Right.
make comments.
Looking at them.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
you know,
That's why mine is an at-home weightlifting program.
yes.
Yep.
And I have my own gym in the basement that myself, my teenagers, we
Yeah.
all make use of that at home gym. So,
So before we dive into the various types of online environments people can work with you in, I'd love to just dive right in with sort of the foundation of how you look at understanding or getting a handle on what is a balanced, nutritious diet.
okay. So I do not believe in cutting anything out. I am very much a believer that you need carbs, you need protein, and you need fats. Now, for those of us 70s kids, everybody thinks fat is horrible, but I'm telling you that if you are avoiding all things fat, you are totally wrecking your hormones, which is stopping your weight loss, which may be causing your hair to fall out, make your face break out, make you just absolutely, snarky, for lack of a better word.
We know snarky.
Yes, hormones are horrible and they make us snarky when we don't feed them what they need. So I am a big believer in balance in all things, and that you have to have all of these components because each component does something different for your body. The latest craze is carbs are bad. Well, folks, your muscles need carbs for energy. Your brain needs carbs to process stuff. And when you don't get enough, you live in a fog. So by cutting out those two things, you're setting yourself up for this, you can lose weight because your muscle drains of carb and therefore no water's going into your muscle, which means, none of those processes that need to occur are happening. So you're losing the muscle, which causes you to lose the bone. Um, you can do that, but it's not going to get you to that point of healthy. It's going to really backfire on you. And as a population, women do not eat enough protein, and they do not eat it dispersed out throughout the day. We are firm believers that you must eat a salad, because if you eat a salad, that's healthy, and that salad doesn't need to have protein on it because, we're not guys. Wrong answer.
Right. I was guilty of that.
Yes, the protein. Yes, we need fruits and vegetables, and I am a huge believer that you should get most of your carbs from fruits and vegetables and whole grains.
Me too.
But the body needs protein in order to generate the muscle that keeps the bone healthy. And Sarah and I can go on and on about this whole concept forever, but in order to keep the muscle there, and after 30 we start losing it. In order to keep that muscle, you have to have protein. So my viewpoint on nutrition is we need it all. What we don't need is processed foods that say they have these nutritious components, but they really don't. Or they do, but they're not as good for your body as whole foods. I am a firm believer in whole foods made with love. Much to my 14-year-old's complete dismay, he is required to cook food, not microwave it. There are no microwave meals in my house because, you got to cook it.
Yeah.
So when he gets a box of, what are they? The Hot Pockets, he is in seventh heaven. That makes him incredibly happy because, he just...
Of course.
It's a quick thing he can do. But 9 times out of 10, it's whole foods made with love. Learn to turn the George Foreman grill on.
Yes, exactly. So when I'm looking, let's say I'm a novice at understanding what I'm eating, I know I had shared with you that I used Chronometer initially to figure out the fact that I wasn't eating enough protein. Right. But you have another method that you prefer.
I do. I coach and recommend and teach how to use MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
Because it's free. Because if you know where to look, it will tell you how much protein you're using, and it will tell you how much fat, and it will tell you the other key component that we should all know outside of carbs, which is a subpart of carbs, and that is fiber. So it tells you all of this information. It's incredibly user-friendly after you get over the hurdle of, in your mind, thinking, oh my goodness, this is tech and I will never figure it out. It's not that hard. It really isn't. It's broken down into very easy ways to tell. You're adding breakfast, you're adding lunch, you're adding dinner, and 99% of the foods out there are already in it. So you're just searching for the food name, including restaurants and, packaged foods. It's all there. You can scan a barcode even on your meat that you buy from the grocery store, and it will populate something for you.
So if for instance, I make protein balls for myself, and they're homemade, so they won't be in the app. Would I just put in a tablespoon of pea protein, a tablespoon of almond butter? Is that how you would do it on MyFitnessPal?
It is very similar. There's a couple of really nice features in MyFitnessPal that I make use of all the time. If you're not making these protein balls one-off, so if you're not making them, if you're making a bunch of them, they have what's called a recipe, and you can go in and put the entire recipe in, and then I actually weigh the total weight of the ingredients and put that in there. And then when you go to eat one of your protein balls, throw it on the scale, and then you can put in how many grams that is, and it will tell you the nutritional makeup.
Okay,
as
that
long
is
as
an
you make
improvement.
the serving size, the total number of grams. Or you make the serving size, the total number of grams.
Right.
And I have a guide that shows that exactly how to put a recipe in and how to weigh it and all of that kind of good stuff. Because these are the things that stop people. They're like,
Exactly.
well, if I can't make a one pot meal for my entire family, then it takes too long.
Right.
What takes the time is putting that recipe in initially. And if
Right.
you have family recipes that you use all the time, you just add one a week.
Right.
It takes 20 minutes. So, you don't have to do them all. You just do one a week. But,
Mm-hmm.
that goes back to my lovely habits because I like habits. And
Yes,
if
me
you
too.
plan things out and you do it one a week, it doesn't feel nearly as overwhelming.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you there. So you mentioned you have a guide on how to do this. I assume that guide comes when someone joins you in one of your programs.
That guide actually comes free in when you join my Facebook group.
That's something we'll have to link then.
Yes, yes, I will send you the link because
Okay.
it's just groups/reach Wonderland is the thing because for all of us that have lived a ton of our life over 200 pounds, reaching Wonderland is very important. Getting below 200 on the scale is a huge thing. So
Right.
that's
So we probably have to share for those who aren't seeing the visual and maybe didn't read the podcast summary. How do you spell Wonderland Wellness?
It's ONEderland. Wellness.
Yeah. So
It's
it's
it's this
getting
whole
to one.
concept of, yeah, it's the getting below 200 on this scale is a huge accomplishment. To get below and reach your goal weight below 200 and maintain it is even more.
Right.
Because 80% of people that lose weight have gained it all back after 5 years. So I'm at 7.5 years now. When I reached that 5 year mark of maintaining my weight loss, we literally had a party.
Of
It, it
course.
was it was this huge celebration in my house because my husband looked at me and, being all chiropractory like he is, he was like, "Oh my goodness, you did it!" Because he loves statistics and
Right.
all that kind of
That's
stuff.
and let's just assume one of my clients
Hmm.
is somewhat satisfied with her weight, but maybe 20, 30 pounds overweight.
Yes.
Would there be a benefit in joining your program for your coaching in terms of finding a pattern to health for your bones?
Yes, and here's why. I have a program called Become a MacroUnicorn, which is all about figuring out macros, but not doing it to the extreme. MacroUnicorn is something I coined because if you can't tell, I really like unicorns. And for those of you listening and don't see the visual, my office is covered in unicorns. Um, I like these things because it is
You have a
macro.
regular phone.
I do. I do. I'm old. Um, Macros help you do things like balance out your hormones. If your hormones are not balanced, your bone health is going to suffer. Because I am talking not only, you have two kinds of hormones as women. We have the nutritional hormones, the digestive hormones. Um, those hormones require a balanced macro setup. Then we also have our lovely female hormones, which, being that there is a greater chance of having osteoporosis after you've gone through menopause and the hormone levels in your body are not as high, guess
Correct.
what? keeping those hormones balanced become extremely important if you have osteoporosis.
Yes.
Because you still do have those hormones in your body. They are just not at high enough levels to instigate your cycle.
Right.
So
Exactly.
the Become a Macro Unicorn program teaches you your body type, teaches you what macros you need to not only lose weight, but even if you're at your weight and your hormones are out of whack, it teaches you how to eat to maintain your weight but balance out those hormones.
Awesome.
So with Become a Macro Unicorn, yes, the overriding premise is weight loss, but it does so much more. It helps you balance your hormones. It helps you bust cravings, which I don't care what weight you are, there are still times you crave things.
Of course.
And there's two different kinds of cravings, and we talk about that in the program. You know, what is a nutritional craving? What is a habit-based craving? Because once again, I love habits. You know, it helps you block binge eating. And I have had some of the skinniest friends on the face of the planet where they would diet, but then they would diet with levels that were so low that they would binge for 3 days. Now, they were really skinny people, but they thought that, you know, this binge weight loss cycle was normal. And I'm here to tell you, it is not normal. When you cut your calories too low, it causes you to go into this survival mode, and then it makes you want to eat everything in sight. That's where the whole commercial with hangry comes from. And she's sitting there eating a potpourri out of the bag. You know, so Become a Macro Unicorn has the premise of weight loss, but it does so much more. So even if you have 20 to 30 pounds to lose and you don't have 100 pounds to lose, thank you for taking care of your body, but it will do something for you. I have women of all sizes take the program just because of that whole, some of the girls from my high school class are like, oh, I need that. And they're, you know, the toothpicks from high school that are still toothpicks, but their hormones are all out of whack. They're losing their hair. Their faces are breaking out. They just feel nasty. And they're learning what they need to eat in order to feel better.
Exactly. And and that's so important. And just in case somebody doesn't know what a macro is, we alluded to it earlier, but let's just define it.
Okay, so macros are eating based on the amount of carbs you're eating, the amount of fats you're eating, and the amount of proteins you're eating. Now, it sounds hard, but really it's not. Because what you do is you put in what you normally eat. I am the biggest proponent of tracking what you eat ever, because if you're not tracking, you don't know if you're feeding your body what it needs. You're guessing.
Yes.
For some, they don't always need to track, but you've got to have a baseline to know what you're eating and where you're getting the nutrients.
I agree with you. I've never had a weight problem, but, and it's sort of in my family body type.
Right.
And that's fairly consistent across my family. But when the very first time when I was perimenopausal that I tracked what I was eating, I was horrified by the crackers and you know, I was having cracker with cheese for my calcium, but every really nutritional thing I was having was laced with something that came out of a package.
Right.
Every single one of them. No wonder I had so many hot flashes.
Yeah, we can't eliminate packaged foods. There are not enough hours in the day. But you can minimize the amount of damage it's doing to your body. And be aware of all of the components that you need. So the way I have people do it is I have them track everything without judgment, because we like to get judgy about those crackers and about that cookie and all of that, and that does no good. So we drop the judgment and we track everything. Which 21 days in March, we're doing a free track to consistency challenge in my Facebook group.
That's right.
So just track, not judge, just track. And then at the end of that, you can go into MyFitnessPal and look, and it will tell you, are you eating it? It will tell you how much protein you're eating on average, how many carbs you're eating, how much fat you're eating.
Right.
And then you can start to see a trend.
Right.
And say, okay, well, I was told I need to eat at least 25 grams of protein at every single meal, and I'm not doing that. Yeah. So then we up the protein. Right. Naturally, by upping the protein, we're not going to be hungry for something else.
Yeah.
Become a MacroUnicorn is a deep dive into this. We immediately go in, you get lists of foods that tell you, okay, these are protein foods, these are fat foods, these are carb foods.
Okay.
And here are your percentages that you want to match.
Okay.
Because what that does is it tells you which macro set makes your body feel the best, which macro set makes you, if you were trying to lose weight, which one you lose weight on the most. And oftentimes the most important piece that it tells you is which one gives you least amount of brain fog.
Fabulous. That's a win-win for every menopausal woman.
Yes, because that brain fog stinks.
It does.
By figuring out whether you do well on higher protein, higher fats, higher carbs, or something that's completely balanced, then you know how you need to eat and what you need to track. And then it becomes a game. Everybody that takes the program is like, this is the best game ever. It's like the best non-diet thing I've ever done, because it allows you to be flexible. I still eat smothered burritos and pizza. Now, do I eat them every week? No. But I still eat them, and they still fit in my macros if I choose to track that day. But it's a case of, it gives you that flexibility to eat what you want to eat and still meet the nutritional guidelines that your body needs.
So the wonderful thing that I love that you just said is if I choose to track that day. Because I think some people are under the impression, well, if I go down this route, I'm now stuck having to input everything I eat. And that's just not so. No.
I will tell you, I was put on my first diet at the age of 9, and it was a 900 calorie diet. I do not personally have a off button. And when I feel like I'm being told I can't have something, it gives me the incredible urge to eat more. So I still track 90% of the time.
Okay.
Because otherwise I lie to myself. Even as a fitness coach and a nutrition coach and all of that, I'm good at what I do because I'm that person. I am that person that lies to myself. I am that person that if I say that's a serving size, it might be a serving size, but maybe I should weigh it just in case, because I will lie to myself all day long. So I track 90% of the time.
Okay.
I do not track on Thanksgiving or Christmas, and sometimes New Year's. It depends.
Good for you.
The rest of the year, I track everything, but it's not a rule in my brain that there is such a thing as a good or bad food.
Good for you.
I track everything I eat and work on balancing out my macros throughout the day. And I will tell you, I eat protein bars because sometimes they balance out my macros and they taste good. I like them personally.
No kidding.
So, and it's not something I buy in a store because, to be perfectly honest with you, there are not enough hours in my day. I am 50 years old. I still have 2 teenagers at home. And there's just not enough hours in my day. So,
Right.
um, this whole concept of, do you have to track everything? No. You don't have to go down that rabbit hole permanently. But I'm a firm believer that in order to understand and learn what your body needs, how you excel, and the foods that actually fuel you appropriately, you do need to spend some time tracking just
Mm-hmm.
for the information and
Yeah.
the knowledge that comes from that. You learn so much about your body doing it.
It's really interesting because when people start my core fitness program, Short and Sweet, we do assessments at the beginning because part of what we do is we discover what our body's favorite habits are, and frequently they're not optimal habits. And it's sort of like you're doing the same thing.
Right.
You're looking at, well, what are the macros that work for me personally
Yes.
versus what my habits have been to date. Yeah.
And I will tell you, most macro programs just throw it all at you.
Okay.
And they don't tell you why. I've taken a few programs that are similar, that were weight loss based, that never
Mm-hmm.
explained to me what body, that they were actually testing body types. I am
Yeah.
a believer that the more I empower the women that take my program, the better off they are.
Of
Why
course.
keep the knowledge hidden under some magic wand? The only magic wand I have is I was a math major in undergrad, and I took the macro formula and tweaked it,
Good for
and
you.
it works
I
like a
like
charm.
that.
You
Awesome.
know, and it's not that other macro formulas out there don't work. They do. They're too extreme, in my opinion. So
Mm-hmm.
I took the formula and tweaked it so that it helps women specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us who are a little on the older side, it helps more
Yeah.
because we're biologically different than our younger sisters out there. So I made something that works better for us.
That is great. Well,
So,
Michelle, I am quickly running out of time. This was
oh
so
yeah.
fascinating. But I wanted to say that we're going to be sharing the various programs. You mentioned two of them,
Uh-huh.
the MacroUnicorn and then the free Facebook challenge for consistency. And I believe there's one more,
Macros 101. I do
Macros
a
101.
week of teaching how to use MyFitnessPal kind of in the middle of all of
Mm-hmm.
this. And
Okay.
then at the end, I go through and do like 45 minutes to an hour of a Facebook Live that I delete each month. So you have to come in and watch it
I
live,
get it. Yeah.
because it actually teaches how to implement macros, whether you decide to use my program or not, because I want people to go out and try it. Even if
Fabulous.
they choose not to go the route of coaching, it's so important to at
Yeah.
least go out and try it.
I love it. Well, we are going to put all of this in the show notes.
Okay.
And I thank you so much for coming. I am going to join I'm on your Facebook group, but I'm going to join for sure at least one of those programs because for me, it's always the more I know and understand about myself, the better I can take care of myself.
Yes. The
Yep.
next Become a Macro Unicorn starts the 22nd, and we have a welcome party on the 20th, I believe it is,
Great.
to get
Perfect.
everybody set up and ready for
Good
that
timing.
big Monday start.
Okay. Well, I can't wait to see you in the group.
I will see you there. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Sarah. I
Thank
love
you so
doing this.
much. So much. Thank you for listening to the Bone Bootcamp podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're loving the podcast, please subscribe. Also, share with a friend. I would really appreciate it. And if you're inspired, a really helpful thing to do is leave a review on iTunes or Spotify. Thank you again for joining me. See you in the next episode.